Tom Clark's 6M podcast is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show. Hey, what is up? Welcome to Tom Clark's 6M podcast. I'm your host, Tom Clark, and in this episode I'm joined by co-host Phil Lindsey. From the world of hip-hop comes an album from one of the most accomplished and best-selling rappers of all time, with a soulful vibe, brash delivery, and unapologetic lyrics that defined Jay-Z for a generation and solidified him as arguably the greatest rapper in the game. We're talking about The Blueprint. The Blueprint is the sixth studio album by Jay-Z. It includes a total of 7 producers working on 15 tracks, with each song co-written by Jay. It was released by Rockefeller Records and Def Jam on September 11, 2001. The Blueprint was the first album with that title, as parts 2 and 3 came in 2002 and 2009. The album was recorded from May to July of 2001 at Baseline Studios in New York City, with 9 of the 15 tracks recorded in just 2 days. Jay-Z was awaiting 2 criminal trials during the recording and was under fire from other rappers at the time. He responded with diss tracks of his own on the album, which brought him a certain level of controversy. Eminem, one of the Blueprint's producers, also appeared on the track and is the only rapper featured on the album besides Jay-Z himself. The Blueprint was a major success upon its release, selling over 427,000 copies on the first day, despite its September 11th release date. It was also a hit with critics, many of whom hailed it as the best album of the year. The Blueprint was selected for preservation in the National Recording Registry by the Library of Congress in 2019 and was hailed as culturally significant, being the first entry in the 21st century. Thanks to the lyrics, the vocal performances, and soulful sampling, The Blueprint is regarded by many as one of the greatest rap albums of all time. It continues to be an important chapter in the career of Jay-Z and remains a favorite of fans all over the world. And that's the lowdown on The Blueprint. There's only a few times, in my opinion, that you can really begin to look and see an artist who is really carving a legacy for his or herself. It happens in all forms of music. Really every flavor of music you can possibly imagine, from rock and roll to soul to blues to even gospel. I mean, you can make the case for, okay, this artist was the top in his field. She was one of the best to do it. And here's proof. Like, you always want to give proof. Like, here's the evidence, Your Honor. Here's what I have to back up my case that he or she is not only a great artist, but influential and made a difference in their field, in their flavor, in their particular brand of music. Rap is no different. We've covered rap artists here before. I mean, we've talked about DMX. We've even talked about MC Hammer, for goodness sake. I mean, Tribe Called Quest. We've covered rap albums here before. And we've talked about the artists that we're going to cover here today. And of course, we're talking about Jay-Z. There is no doubt that Jay-Z, his career, his music career is, I think it's safe to say, second to none. He's carved out his own path. No one really sounds like Jay. His cadence, Jay is smooth, and we've talked here before about Jay. As I said, we've done the Black Album. We've talked about some of the criticisms leveled at him from his peers and from some other people, talking about, well, he doesn't freestyle, he does this, that, and the other. I don't really care. To me, Jay's one of the greatest MCs of all time. And here you go, Your Honor. Here's further proof of that statement, of that declaration. We present to you The Blueprint. There were 3 different blueprints. We're kicking off here today with the first. Expect volumes 2 and 3 somewhere in the pipeline down the road, as it were, for the 6M podcast. But we kick off today with The Blueprint. Phil, you and I, of course, you were the one that we talked about Jay here on the pod before. We talked about him in various other different iterations and shows and whatnot. As we get cranking here today, let's get your broad 30,000 foot view, if we could here. What is your overall view on The Blueprint? Where do you rank it? Maybe in terms of, maybe not rap, possibly if you want to, but in terms of Jay's best, where do you rank The Blueprint?
I think it's easily one of his best albums. I think up to that point, you could before he had recorded anything up to that point in 2011. No, I'm sorry, 2001. Uh, that was his best album. Um, I mean, he has other classic albums. You can go all the way back to Reasonable Doubt. Um, uh, I know people like Hard Knock Life. I know that there are others that are considered classic albums, but I feel like this is the one that there's no real debate that it is easily his classic album. It's also very influential, um, and I would say it kind of changed the scope of his career. It changed the trajectory of his career, um, because I think coming up to his sixth album, there were still a lot of people that were like, this guy is a flash in the pan. He came in an era right after Biggie and Tupac, and he kind of filled the void that they left behind. But is he really the guy? And I feel like this album kind of cemented him in some ways. And then it also was the start of his professional relationship with Kanye West, um, which turned into so many other things that they've done together, whether that be production that Kanye has done on some of his better albums, Watch the Throne, and other career highlights. Um, yeah, I mean, there's just so many things about this album. It's so important to his career.
As you said, 2001, and I didn't know this personally. Released on September 11th, 2001. I did
Yeah, that's
not
where I got
know
11
that.
from, because I was like 2011. I was like, wait a minute, no, 2001.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Which that has always been one of his biggest bragging points, that he dropped on September 11th, and it still was one of his most lucrative albums.
Sold over 427,000 copies in its opening week, which is crazy. Number one on the Billboard 200 chart, certified double platinum. The sales are over 2.7 million at this point, and that was reported years ago. So we could be very well be at 3 million at this point, if not more. Um, you mentioned Kanye West; his hands were all over this, and I don't know that I really understood how much he had to do with that. We don't have to go off on a sidebar here, but what's your take on what Kanye did for Jay? I guess what I'm asking is who did more for the other? Was it a mutual partnership? Do you think what did he bring to Jay's game that maybe Jay wasn't doing already?
I think I can't remember which year it was. I think it was around the time Graduation dropped. Kanye dropped a book called "Thank You and You're Welcome," and I feel like their relationship is a thank you and you're welcome, because I feel like there's so much that he's done for Jay's career, um, in terms of helping to keep his sound relevant. Um, because I'm not sure where Jay Z is if he doesn't get the sound that he got on this album. But at the same time, I feel like Jay put Kanye on the map. I feel like the endorsement for Jay helped to make Kanye who he was. Um, yeah, and there's other things like yeah, because I mean, really, when you really think about it, like for some people, when they think production for Kanye West, the first thing they think of is Blueprint or
Hmm.
the J album. Um, I mean, I can't remember which album it was, but I'm pretty sure Kanye has said like after Blueprint, people started asking him for Blueprint beats.
Oh, interesting. The book you're talking about was 2009. So yeah, you're in the ballpark for sure.
Yeah, it was right around Graduation, I think, because I
Yeah.
think it was around the same time as the Glow in the Dark tour.
Um, I'm not a huge Kanye fan. Now, to be fair, a lot of my I know you're laughing. A lot of my personal opinion is based on, antics, shenanigans, public image,
Yeah,
weird stuff he
yeah.
says.
Yeah, I had this take on Kanye years ago, and I used to be a huge Kanye fan. And I was like, yeah, the moment his personality gets more overbearing than his music,
Hmm.
then he's done.
Yeah,
Because I feel like for a long time we kind of put up with Kanye's personality because the music was good, but I feel like he's past the point where I can look past some of his character quirks
that's
and
fair.
some of his like more problematic views on things. Yeah, I just think that he's turned into Yeah, he's a very obnoxious dude at this point, and I don't think I've listened to a Kanye album in over 5 years. I think I was done. I think I was done after Life of Pablo, and I can't remember what year that was. I think that was 2016.
Mhm.
So yeah, I haven't listened to a Kanye album since in about 6 years.
I mean, I don't know if he cares more money than God, but
I mean, he's fine. He's
yeah.
making tons of money on his terrible looking clothes and shoes. Uh, um, but and people still enjoy his music. But I just can't. I can't get with certain things about the guy's personality, and I haven't really cared for some of his music in a while either. But again, I think there are maybe four guys that you could say really shaped Jay Z's career and shaped his sound, and that's Kanye, Just Blaze,
Mm-hmm.
Timbaland, and Pharrell. Those are like the big four, I think, of his catalog. I mean, there's probably other guys I'm forgetting. Like you can throw Ski on there. You can throw guys like Bink or lesser known guys. But I feel like when you really think about it, it's those four guys.
100% agree. You said it best. That's the four for sure. Um, before we get going through the track listing here, we gotta hit them with a few numbers here. Um, ranked best album of the 2000s by more than one publication, including a Rolling Stone magazine, made the list of 100 best albums of the 2000s. Ranked number 6 in Billboard's Critics' Pick of the Decade for 99 to 2009. And you could look at all this and say, well, who cares? It's that kind of thing. But, this album made an impact, kids. And I just read off two small things. I mean, um, it made impact's the right word. It made a definite impact. It's one of those albums that it's not going to be forgotten. I mean, are we going to be, to your point about Kanye, are we going to be talking about his 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 discography in 10 years, or we're going to be talking about the character? I mean, I think with
Yeah,
Jay, we'll be talking about his high profile marriage, but we'll also be talking about his career too.
yeah. And I mean, I feel like again, this album it cemented him in a lot of ways because I feel like you can make the argument that some of his other albums are either very good or considered a classic, but I feel like this album is different. I feel like this album is like cemented as one of the best hip hop albums of all time.
Yeah, 100% agree. And we said with the record sales, it is certified double platinum. So that's, of course, nothing to sneeze at, kids. Um, let's get rolling through this track listing because I'm anxious to hear your takes on some of these tunes. Um, the album opens up with The Ruler's Back. And once again, Phil, in my opinion, we have an essence of an album opening perfectly. I don't know how else you open this album, but this seems to be, there's something about the music, there's something about the sound that makes it sound like he just walked into the room. I don't know why I feel that way, but it kind of feels like I've arrived. And maybe
Yeah.
that's just how it hits my ears. But talk to me about The Ruler's Back. What's your take on this song?
I love it. Just the drum roll that starts before the track starts. Um, has some of his best bars on the album on it. There's this rhyme scheme. I think it's the second verse where he is he's going bar for bar on members of Rockefeller,
Yeah.
and it's so clever. It's like he does this whatever situation is bleak. Got to keep it real because um, I forgot this next line, but it's something about dropping a mill, and that was the same time he dropped the mill. And I always thought that was clever, just how he got around everybody and made like this side jab at a mill at toward the end.
Yeah, I mean it's not a it's you're not a good rapper unless you're taking a jab at somebody. It doesn't mean there's any ill will toward there, but
Uh,
sometimes there is.
and there are jabs on this album. There are a lot of jabs
No kidding.
on this album.
Uh, yeah, it's good. There's let's see. I got great lawyers for cops who dress warm. I love that. Charges don't stick to dude. He's Teflon. Who's he talking
I,
about in this?
I love the dress warm line because it is a Scarface reference.
Ah, there you go.
It is of course the reference to the iconic man better dress warm. Gonna be Gonna be working in Alaska.
Yeah.
So no, I love that line.
F you, what's a couple dollars to me, but you will respect me, simple as that, or I got no problem going back. That's the best line, or I got no problem going back. You know what he means. That's awesome. So it's good stuff. I'm representing for the seat where Rosa Parks sat. I mean, yeah. I don't, he doesn't, I don't know if he gets enough credit as being a lyricist, but he should because I don't know. I love this stuff, man. If you know, if you doubt kids whether or not a rapper is a true lyricist, go read the lyrics. Stop listening to how he's doing it and appreciate the art form another time. But go read what the work that went into making these rhymes flow. I mean, this is great stuff. I could predict the future like Cleo the Psychic. What?
Yeah. I just love the production on this too.
Yeah.
Just the horns, like there's no real hook to this. It's just he just lets the beat play out between verses, and I really love the production on this song.
Yeah, it's great. It really is. It's as we said, Conway's hands are all over this, but they're not. He is listed as a producer, but not as a writer on this. I mean, Jay is. Blank is also on here. We've got actually Kanye is listed as a writer on here. My apologies. No, that's on the next tune. I'm getting ahead of myself. Walter Sigler is one of the writers. So there you go. And I would guess that's where the riff comes from because he was a musician in the early 70s. So there you go. Got to represent, got to credit the musicians.
Yeah, and I know the whole the ruler's back is a I'm sure it's like a play off of Slick Rick's song. So I'm sure if anything, I'm sure Slick Rick is credited somewhere on here as a writer.
Phil Hurt is credited, but not on this particular song. You're right; he's probably on here at some point. But
yeah, because I mean, yeah, that's like a pretty iconic Slick Rick song, "The Ruler's Back." So I'm sure that's what this is a play off
of. Let's see. Yeah, good song. It's not my favorite, but I do enjoy it. I know what my favorite is for sure, but I really dig this tune, man.
Yeah, it's a perfect intro to the song, into the album.
For sure. Runs 3 minutes 50 seconds. Not the longest one, but not the shortest one either. Not quite.
I had an ongoing debate with somebody about how Jay has some of the best intros on his album. He always finds a way to have a great intro on his album.
That's instinct. You wonder how much of that is him and how much is the guy that's producing with him on the album or the producers he's working with. I would suspect a lot of it's him.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that he's done a great job early in his career of doing sequencing well on his albums. I think a part of the reason why he's lasted so long is understanding how to put together a good album and knowing what goes where, knowing how to start an album, knowing how to end an album. Now, that's not to say all of his albums are perfect, but I do think that he has a good ear for how to do that.
For sure. And we mentioned the record labels earlier. I think we did. Rockefeller and Def Jam are the two record labels listed, so we got to give shout out. Yeah, it's a cool tune, man. I dig it, and like you said, it's the perfect entrance. I don't think I would have begun this album, started this album with anything else. Track number 2, which is a bit longer, runs for 5 minutes 13 seconds. You and I both have varied tastes in music. Not just current stuff, but also some of the older tunes, older bands. I mean, if you could have told me before this album came out, hey, Tom, a rapper's going to sample The Doors and it's actually going to be a good tune, I'd be like, careful where you tread, my friend. That's The Doors you're talking about. There's some bands for me that I hold close, and I love The Doors. Man, this song is one of those relentless songs, and it just kind of keeps going and going and going. But that Jim Morrison in the background just makes it for me. I don't know why it does. I guess because I'm a Morrison fan, but I think it adds to it. He could have just sampled the music or the riff, but he's actually got Morrison's voice in the song. What do you think about Takeover?
It's one of the greatest diss tracks ever. It just is. It's one of the greatest diss tracks ever. Of course, it makes it even better that Kanye sampled 5 to 1 for this. yeah, it's great. And I'm not the biggest Doors or Morrison fan, but I just think that this was the perfect sample for this song. Um, yeah, there's so much house cleaning that Jay does on this.
Yeah.
um, I think the controversy of it, of course, of him taking shots at Nas and everybody else he takes shots at on this song, kind of overshadows the fact that he raps really well on this. Lyrically, he's he's killing it on this, and that's why I think it's one of the best diss records ever. And of course, Nas's response to it is seen as the better track, but I've always been a takeover guy. Mostly because I think a lot of what he said about Nas on his diss track was true.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
or at least I agreed with a lot of it. Especially as a Nas fan early on. His first two albums are classics. Like his first album especially is definitely on the list of greatest hip hop albums of all time. But I feel like he went on a down he went like a downward trend after that, where the albums just got worse and worse every time. And he did this thing where he's trying to do a commercial records at one point, and it just wasn't good. So I agreed. I agree with Jay on a lot of things. Now, of course, I didn't know the personal things like Jay sleeping with his ex girlfriend and him very clearly making a reference to that in this song. Um, I don't know if I agree with all that stuff, but I did agree with a lot of stuff about Nas's career, like him throwing a line in there. One was the other was Illmatic. That's like one hot album every 10-year average. That's some.
Oh, it's
Or
great.
yeah, there are other funny nods in there, like your bodyguard's Uchi Wally verse was better than yours. Matter of fact, you had the worst song in the whole song, worst flow in the whole song. No, there's great stuff on there, and I think the first verse of the song is really good before he starts really getting in and dissing people. Of course, he's dissing Prodigy on this. I think in the third verse, uh, yeah, it's just a great diss record, and of course, one of my favorite bits of the song is for all of y'all throwing shots at Jigga, you only get half a bar.
That's great. What a great line, dude. You kidding me? Uh, yeah. You as a ballerina, I got the pictures. I seen you. Then you dropped shook one, switched your demeanor, dude.
Yeah,
Hey,
just great.
rappers. Well, if nothing else, rappers keep each other honest, buddy. I'm telling you right now, they'd have no problem pointing out when someone else does something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, this is just a great diss record. There's so many things that he doesn't say directly to people that are just him bragging that are just great, like him saying, starting the verse with a wise man told me don't argue with fools because people from a distance can't tell who is who.
Ha. That's great, man. Trust me on this one. I'll detach you. Mind from spirit, body from soul. They'll have to hold a mass. Put your body in a hole. That's effing great. I don't know why that made me laugh. That's
Come
so
on,
good.
man. Come on, man. Not on my level. Get your brakes tweaked. Yeah. I sold what your whole album sold in my first week.
It's great. Ask Nas. He don't want it with Hove. Oh my God. Kidding me?
Just man, I remember where I was when I heard this the first time, because Nas was on considered like hip hop royalty. Like nobody wanted Nas before this, and
Right.
it just was considered like nobody does that. And so when I got to the end of that verse and he said "Ask Nas," I was like, "Whoa, who?" and you know he's given props to Nas before that, because one of his most famous lines is who's the best New York MCs? Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas. And so for him to come back and diss him, I was like, whoa.
So, do we know what led to this? Do we have the backstory here?
I don't know how much of the backstory is that he was he was sleeping with his ex girlfriend,
Right.
who happened to be his the mother of his baby
Ooh.
at the time. And I think Jay was just feeling himself at the time, and he was just like, no, I'm better than this guy. And at this point, I'm ready to say I'm better than this guy. I'm not just better than you. I slept with your girl.
Right.
I'm get this guy out of here, basically.
Yeah. I don't know. I've always been curious about where it came from.
You could argue too at the time that it was low hanging fruit because um Nas was considered done at that point of his career because, like I said, he had a string of bad albums. Um, and so to some people, he was done. I don't think a lot of people thought he was going to come back and respond to Jay, and maybe Jay didn't think he was going to respond. But I mean, Ether is what Ether is. Ether is on the list for a lot of us as like a staple as a diss record. But uh, yeah, I don't know. But again, this thing went on for years before they, mended fences and they did tracks together on other albums. I mean, this thing got pretty ugly at one point as well, um, with Jay dropping probably one of his most distasteful records. It's super ugly.
Yeah.
I did not like that record at all. I feel like this is probably his best diss to Nas. Like after that, it kind of got worse and worse. Like, yeah, you could have left it with Takeover.
Um, rock music writer Ian Cohen said this. He said that according to him, Internet Scorekeepers had scored Nas the winner with Ether. But he said, "quote But there's never been a better diss song. Kanye West's 5-1 flip turned Jim Morrison's Dionysus into Hercules, while Jay calmly doled out dismissals that were all the more perfect for their brevity and focus."
Yeah,
I agree.
I, and look, I think if you put out a poll right now, most people think that Nas won their beef. Um, I don't know how well that is aged, and this could be just my bias as a whole fan, but I feel like Jay has had a better career than Nas. I
Yeah.
feel like Jay kind of won the beef in the sense that they had to mend fences, and then he had to come and work with Jay after Jay had said some pretty disgusting things about him and his the mother of his child. Because I don't know if I would have made that same decision if he said certain things about me. Um, and hey, you could make the case that Nas is the bigger man here, and he just did what was right.
Sure.
Um, but I don't know. I always felt like Takeover was a better song than Ether. I think in terms of coming back and doing what it needed to do as a response, Ether did what it was supposed to do. It put Nas back on the track. It I feel like it helped to make Stillmatic into a tent pole in his career. But I mean, Takeover to me is just still a better record.
Yeah, I agree. And Nas put out a great album with Damian Marley, which I really like. That album is very solid. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, so the guy can do a little bit of everything. But I'm with you. In my opinion, I think Jay's career is. I don't want to say head and shoulders above, but it's kind of like we had the discussion of DMX and I forget who did we say sound his cadence changed after X hit, his voice
oh,
changed.
Ja Rule.
That's it. I don't want to say it's anything to that degree, but I do think Jay is edged out Nas just a bit. For me, he has anyway.
I don't know. Could be some of my bias. I've always been a big Jay fan, so
Yeah,
I don't
same
know.
here.
But and I mean, I like Nas. I've always liked his first two albums. He has several other albums that I enjoy after he went on a slump. But at this point, I was like I said, I was kind of with Jay. I was like, nah, this dude hasn't dropped a good album in how long?
Right, right, right. Good point. Good call. Um, I feel like we do a whole podcast on Takeover. That's not bad. Just expect that, kids. That'll come soon. Um, Track number 3, and by the way, and as we said, the Doors were featured on Takeover, of course. A lot of songwriting credits going out here, which is good. But track number 3 is Izzo, H to the Izzo, V to the Izzy. Dude, this is as much Jay Z as anything he's ever done. It's one of those songs that when you think of Jay, for me, it's one of the first songs that jumps into my head besides 99 Problems. And there's a lot because, man, he had a lot of hits. But this is, if you didn't know Jay, but you knew a little bit of rap, you probably know this song because it just kind of crosses over in my mind. So, what's your take on Izzo?
I feel like this kind of set the standard for him and Kanye's professional relationship, because I feel like this was like their first real song together that became a Billboard hit, and then on top of it, it was like that sound really meshed so well with Jay that it kind of was like these two just click, they just fit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean, I think at the time that was one of his biggest hits. That was one of his biggest hit singles. I always think of that time period and what this song did. Both the video, the performance. I think he performed at the MTV VMAs. I think that was,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that was the performance when he performed it outside. He had the kids out there dancing with the jerseys with him. It's just an iconic performance. Yeah, and I love this record. There's so many lines on this record that I love. Yeah, it's just it's. I feel like for it being a radio hit, I feel like that he does some of his best lyrics on this thing, and I feel like it's kind of understated how good he is on this song.
It's really good. It's really good. Again, when I think of Jay, I think of smooth. Like, X is different. X is gruff and he's hard and he growls and it's a different cadence, it's a different delivery. But Jay is just smooth as silk, man. It's kind of like he reminds me of Snoop in that regard. Snoop is so smooth and his tone is so good. That's what I get
Yeah,
from Jay.
yeah. There's just so many quotables from this.
Yeah.
Uh, Hove did that, so hopefully you don't have to go through that. Of course, it's
Yeah.
um, man. There's just so many lines on here. I can't remember which verse it is, but I quote it all the time. The label owners hate me. I'm raising the status quo up. I'm overcharging for what you did to the Cold Crush. Pay us like you owe us. Come
Nah,
on, man.
I love it. Can't leave rap alone. The game needs me. Haters want me clapped in chrome and ain't easy. Cops want to knock me. DA wants to box me in, but somehow I beat them charges like Rocky.
Come on, man.
Woo. It's great. It's good.
Tom Clark 6M Podcast is sponsored in part by Radius Law Group. Every day, Radius helps individuals, families, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations throughout North Carolina, Florida, and Pennsylvania resolve their legal issues by providing effective legal counsel in the areas of estate planning, as well as elder law and Medicaid. Radius Law holds the radical belief that working with a lawyer can indeed be enjoyable. So give them a call at 1-800-519-5667 for more information and tell them that Tom Clark 6M Podcast sent you.
Yeah, plus it's a fun tune. It's a fun tune. When he's going at Nas or going at somebody, if you were up in your feelings because you like Nas, you may not appreciate the art form of the song. But for a song like this, it's just a fun tune, man.
Yeah, but again, I feel like this album is a statement. I feel like this album, because they're in New York at the time, like there were the three. There were the three kings of New York rap. There's Biggie, there's Nas, there's Jay.
Yeah.
And Biggie was gone. And I feel like this album, Jay, like, stepped forward, like, no, I am the king of the city now. Like, Big's gone. I know people act like I rode his coattail, but I'm the guy now. Nas is not the guy. And so I think to come on the second song and basically like, nah, we're getting Nas out of here. That's a big statement.
Yeah, really.
And to come on the third song and then come with like such a big radio hit, and really just basically, like I said, like proclaim himself the guy. Yeah, this was a statement album.
Yeah, this was the second track release from the Blueprint, the first one being Takeover.
Yeah, and I felt like Takeover was like it was released on radios, but there was no video or anything.
No.
Like Izzo is really the single from this album. Like this was the one that got most of the radio play. It got the video, and he performed it a lot. Like even when he did MTV Unplugged, like this is the song that was like one of the centerpieces of that. Yeah, I feel like that is considered. Yeah, I was about to say it's debatably the biggest track on this album for what it did outside of, even if you didn't buy this album, you knew this song.
I don't think that's debatable. I think that's true. I think I think you nailed it. Yeah, I dig this tune, man. I again, his raps are great. The songwriting that went into this, the lyrics are great. I mean, the music's good. They sampled Jackson 5 for crying out loud, kids. You can't go wrong with that. I mean, it's
Yeah, come
good
on, man.
stuff.
Industry shady. It needs to be taken over. Me and a friend quote that a lot.
It's good. Yeah. And he's never shied away about talking about his past. He talks about dealing drugs a lot in his albums. And you could look at that and say, well, he's bragging, and the way it sounds like he's glamorizing. Maybe no one says that. It appears that way to me sometimes. However, I got to keep in mind the guy overcame that. He could have stayed in that life, but he chose to overcome it, and he did better for himself, which is admirable. But dude, rappers talk about their past all the time, and it's like people want to throw stones at them. But I'm like, yeah, but dude, they're no longer in that life. I mean, you should be applauding this guy for pulling himself up out of it.
Yeah. I mean, hey, look, man, like he told you to sell drugs. Nah, Hove did that, so hopefully you don't have to go through that.
Right. Oh, that's good stuff. I've been listening to all three Blueprint albums for a good 2 weeks straight. Suddenly I just jumped onto one of them, and then I just kept going with Jay. But yeah, that's the reason. The next track is Girls, 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 track number 4. I got to be honest with you. I am not a fan of this tune. I like the music. I don't much care for the actual rap in it. I don't really know why, but it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't click with me too awful much. You know what I mean? So, what's your take on this song?
I really liked Girls, Girls, Girls at the time. I think it's the second single on the album. Because there's definitely a video for it. I remember the video. Some of the stereotyping he's doing in this has not aged well.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the bars in this thing that are like in terms of women's ethnicity, and like some of the bars on here have not aged well, but I feel like it's still a good record. If nothing else, just like the small bits of like the Just Blaze production on this is still good. You have a random cameo from Q-Tip, who is singing the vocals on the hook.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if he's credited on the album, but that's definitely Q-Tip's voice.
He is not credited on the song, which is different. And by the way, we've not been keeping track. Blink produced The Ruler's Back. Taker was produced by Kanye, and he also produced Izzo. And then Girls, Girls, Girls was produced by Just Blaze. If you're taking notes, kids, there you go. Just Blaze has got credit on the writing on this. So does Tom Brock. And apparently it was his music that you hear in the sample. The music itself is great. I have no problem with. There's something about the cadence. There's something about the chorus. I just don't care for the chorus. It just sounds, I don't know. It sounds lazy, if that's the right word. You know what I mean? It just sounds lazy. It sounds like there wasn't a lot of, I don't know. But you're right. That is Q-Tip for sure.
Yeah, I like him jumping back and forth to all the girls he's dating in the song. I love it. There's something about it that I liked at the time. Again, some of it hasn't aged the best. I do think some of the bars are still good. I think stuff like the references to the Eddie Murphy joke are great.
Right.
But again, it has the Miss Fufu in there, which I'm like, that didn't age great.
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, the narcoleptic line is great. There's several bars in there that I still enjoy, but if I had to go back and pick a song off of here and go, that could go, I wouldn't have a problem with Girls, Girls going, just because, like I said, it's kind of dated.
Yeah, you're right about the lyrics. If you go read them, they're yeah. Yeah. I got this French chick that loved to French kiss. She thinks she's Bo Derek, wear her hair in a twist.
His French sounds horrible. His French after that line sounds awful. But I get what you were going for, Jay.
I got this Indian squaw the day that I met her. Asked her what tribe she with, red dot or feather. Ooh man, come on.
Yeah,
Come on,
again,
man.
that's why I'm like, that stuff hasn't aged the best.
I mean, if you appreciate the artistry that went into making that line work, kudos. But the content,
Yeah, I mean, again, the "I want half" line when he described the African woman is still
yeah,
funny because, of course, it's a reference to the Eddie Murphy joke,
yes,
but there's
right.
this it, and he has some other references in here, like the had to tie the back of her head like Deuce Bigelow. That's still funny to me. There are a lot of tongue in cheek things here that are funny, but some of it, like I said, is just a little dated.
It's great because like, what was it? The joke is that the girls got a hold of her and told her what's up, and she went back to Eddie and said she wanted half. And he's like, you're living in a jungle yesterday. What do you mean you want half? It's good.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I'm not crazy about this one either. To be honest with you, but um, so we're moving on from that. We're going to track 5 now, kids.
Can
Again,
you just imagine too? This is such an interesting time. To put this in perspective with people, Beyonce is in the video for Izzo, if I remember correctly. It's like a blink and you miss it cameo. She's in the video for Izzo. I don't remember the timeline of when they started officially dating, but I can't imagine him making a song like "Girls, Girls" today as like happily married family man Jay-Z, like just at the NBA Finals with his little girl. I don't think he's making "Girls, Girls, Girls" today.
yeah, yeah, and much less performing it anyway.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you're right. And dude, to be fair, we've covered a lot of stuff here on the show that if you look back at it with today's eyes, you're like, oh man. But yeah, I mean, you could say, I mean, we've talked about X here today. A lot of his, I mean, call it for what it is. He's got some homophobic stuff in those albums, man. I mean, does that mean he was a
Yeah.
bad guy? Not necessarily. Doesn't mean he was a saint either. But
No.
you know, um, and I don't want to give anything a pass here, kids, and say, well, that's the time. But you know, let's be fair. Some of Archie Bunker's jokes may not fly today from 70s sitcoms. I mean, it's some stuff just doesn't age well, honestly. Um, but yeah, I'm with you. I'm not crazy about this. Um, I'm gonna follow up track 4 with track 5, which is Jigga. Right. I'm not insanely crazy about this one either, and I don't really know why. But I love the music. I love the samples in it. They're on point and they're crisp and they're clean, and I dig them. But there's something about, I don't know. I'm not big on the tune. So what's your take on Jigga, which is track 5?
Um, I really enjoy his flow on this record. I like the way that he rode the beat on this one. Uh, I it this is definitely a Track Masters. It's definitely a Track Masters record.
Yes.
It feels like Track Masters production. It sounds like something R. Kelly would be on at the time. Track Masters worked very heavily with R. Kelly. Um, so yeah, it sounds like that time period. So I could see why people that weren't around for some of the biggest records from that era wouldn't necessarily like the sound. Um, but like I said, I still enjoy it. I like some of the bars on this. Yeah, it's some of the lines are yeah, a little corny.
Yeah.
A tad corny, just like the gnarly dude, a puff by Marley do all day like Rastafaris do. Probably not my favorite J lines, but
And plus, this feels very chorus heavy, this song, to me. You know what I
it
mean?
is. But that's why I said it feels very much like a Trackmaster song.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if whoever came in and wrote this hook for him. Um, yeah, and I mean, there's not really much to the hook. It's just the same refrain over and over. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's my favorite song on the album, but I I don't skip it when I play this album, so it doesn't bother me that much.
I don't say that I can't say that I skip it every time, but I've been known to skip this song. Here I am. I feel like I'm throwing shade on two songs back to back, which I don't mean to do. It's just not. I don't know. It's just not one of my favorites. But yeah, you're right. It's Trackmasters for sure, and people got all kinds of thoughts on that, on those guys, and I totally get it. I totally get it because, like, at some point, I don't know. You could make the case for Rick Rubin, who produced 99 Problems, and he's worked with Johnny Cash and Beastie Boys and Metallica, and you're like, I don't hear it because Rick's style is, I'm going to let you be you. I'll tweak it. I'll give suggestions. We'll roll with it. But then you hear Trackmasters, you're like, I know what that song is. I know who that is.
Yeah, and I mean, look, Trackmasters have done some great songs
Yeah.
in that time period. But like the second I hear this, just because I know that time period, I'm like, yeah, this is Trackmasters. You can see all of the little hallmarks of their production style.
Yeah, 100%.
Have a product or a service that you want to get out into the world? Always wanted to try your hand at podcasting but don't know where to start? We've got you covered. Pod for Hire is a podcast production company that offers turnkey services to fit your needs. We produce your show from start to finish, allowing you the valuable time you require to focus on your established clients as well as prospective clients. We pride ourselves on delivering a top-notch product that will set your business apart from the rest and give your company the exposure it deserves. For more information, give us a call at 1-828-800-9880 or email us at info@podforhire.com. Pod for Hire. We take the work out of podcasting.
Well, we're moving on now, folks. Track number 6, You Don't Know. This turns the album back around for me because I really like this song. Again, I love the music. I think almost every tune on this album, the music, the sample choices are knocking it out of the park. I'm digging it, man. Bobby Bird is credited on this single, on this song. It's produced by Just Blaze. I actually really dig this song, man. What's your take on You Don't Know?
It's probably on my list of top Jay-Z records. It just goes so hard. I also think it's one of Just Blaze's best productions, period. I just think that it's perfect. I mean, it's one of those beats where even if you didn't throw Jay on this beat, it was gonna be a hit. Like this beat was a hit. You could hear this beat with nobody on it and go like, yeah, this is gonna work. I don't care what you put on it, it's gonna work.
It's got a very DMX sound too, for some reason to me. This song
does. Yeah, it's very I mean, so much so I was surprised that he revisited it and did a remix for it. And a lot of times when people do remixes, they don't officially put it on the album. It officially made Blueprint 2 with MOP, which I mean, MOP on that beat is just like, it's perfect. It's a perfect combination. But yeah, it's not just, I don't want to just go glowingly and go, okay, the beat is perfect. So, Jay had a layup on this one. Jay came with some of his best verses on the album on this song.
Oh, dude, there's no doubt about it. I mean, and plus, when you've got you got Bobby Bird screaming in the background, that's all the better. I mean, what's James Brown without Bobby Bird? I'm just saying.
Yeah. I just love I love how they play the sample as kind of the de facto chorus, and Jay kind of responds to it every time and then goes into this incredible verse afterwards. Like I don't remember which verse it is, but when he comes behind it and goes, "Put something on it."
It's great stuff, man. It's great stuff.
Yeah, I will always say I sell fire in hell. I sell ice. I sell ice in the winter. I sell water in hell. I am a hustler, baby. Come on, man. That is one of his best. That is like bar for bar one of his best sequences. Come on.
I mean, it's a great tune, man. I mean, it's one of my favorites on the album. And I'm with you. I think it's one of his top tracks of all time. I mean, I really do. I think it's up there for sure. And honestly, it redeemed the two back to back for me that weren't hits. But this This brought it back for me, no doubt about it. Let's see. So the next track we have is Hola Ovito. Jovito. I don't want to mispronounce it. So as much as I dig, you don't know. I am back and forth on this tune. I don't know if I love it or if I just tolerate it. Again, I'm not in love with the chorus. I love the sound. I love the riff that constantly plays through this song. I really dig it. But I've not decided if I like it or not.
I feel like Hola Jovito is the weakest song on the album. I think it's easily the weakest song on the album. It's interesting because the first time I heard Hola Jovito, it comes on at the end of Izzo in the video. And they just play like the beginning of the song. They don't play the hook of it. And the first verse of the song is very good. That beat change in the video and everything, I remember seeing that and loving it. But when I heard the entire song on the album, I was like, I could take or leave Hola Jovito. And I think it's because of the verse.
Yeah.
I mean, not the verse, but the hook is kind of cheesy. There's nothing wrong with the production. Timbaland did his thing on production. I don't know. It's just not for me as the whole song. I think and that's not to say that the verses aren't good, because like I said, the first verse is great. Yeah. There's a second verse. I don't remember if it's the second verse where like he is just essentially rhyming motherfucker and from line to line, and it just doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
It's to me it's the weakest song in the album.
Yeah, I'm with you. Some of the I do like that he refers to himself as Sinatra. Something about that, I don't even know why it fits. Maybe it's the New York connection that it's in my head. But I kind of like that. I kind of like that he would compare himself to this Sinatra. He says, "I'm the compadre, the Sinatra of my day." I kind of like that. Oh,
Yeah.
Blue Eyes, I did it my way.
Yeah, I mean he's going back to the Sinatra line a few times in the Blueprint series. I don't know how people feel about him doing the My Way sample in Blueprint 2. Not one of his best tracks, but he does do the Sinatra bit a few times.
I mean, there's some good lines in here, dude. If you haven't heard, I'm Michael, Magic, and Bird all rolled into one. Cause none got more flows than Young, plus got more flows to come. And if I ain't better than Big, I'm the closest one. Oh my God, that's good.
Yeah, and I mean, look, that's why I'm like the verses on here aren't bad. There are a few lines on it that I don't care for, but I think it's just the song in itself. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not crazy about it.
Really love the introduction to it, like the video for Izzo and just the way it comes on at the end of Izzo. Still love that, but the song itself, not for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm back and forth on it too. I can't really decide if I like it or don't like it. I don't necessarily skip it, but I just can't decide if I like it or not.
Oh, I skip it a lot.
Oh, do you really? Wow.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I don't skip, and that's the next one. Track number 8 is Heart of the City, and I am in the bag for Heart of the City. This is actually my favorite tune on the album. I love the voice. I love the singing. Let's see. Michael Price and Dan Walsh have credit on this song. I'm not entirely sure where the sample comes from. Do we know where the sample comes from?
It's a sample of David Ruffin "Common Man."
There we go.
Which is a great song if you've never heard it. Great song.
I may have. I'm a David Ruffin fan, but for some reason I blanked on that. I love this song, dude. There's nothing about this song that I don't like. I think it's perfect.
I'm sorry. I said David Ruffin "Common Man." That's not this song. That's Never Change. I'm sorry.
Right.
That's Never Change.
I was thinking, because I was thinking that doesn't sound like,
Yeah, that's Never Change. We're talking about Heart of the City. What is Heart of the City a sample of?
I love that the first line out the gate is about the Fat Boys. First, the Fat Boys break up.
which I don't know if you know, but that is another reference to a joke from a popular black movie. It's from another Eddie Murphy movie. It's from Boomerang.
That is from Boomerang. Oh my God. That's great. Dude,
Yeah,
how did I fell asleep on that,
me.
man.
I had to look this up. Ain't no Love in Heart City is a Bobby Blue Bland sample. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Bobby must not have written it because he gets no credit on the tune. So
yeah, the Bobby Blue Bland sample. Again, I feel like what made this album in a lot of ways is Kanye West, and I feel like Kanye West's production on this is he didn't miss on a single song he produced on this album.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that actually. Yeah, I really, this is my favorite one. I was going through 3 different airports in the past week or so with this particular song, and I just kept putting it on repeat because I just dug it so much. But the line where he's ain't no love in the heart of the city, and you hear Jay say, take him to church. For some reason, I always go back to Iron Man 3 when he brings the suits and he says, well, it's Christmas. Let's take him to church. And I don't know why that connects weird wires in my head, but I love this song. It's my favorite tune of the album, man. I don't know if I asked you, but what do you think about this song?
Yeah, I think it's one of the best songs on the album. I think it's the reason why up there was 99 Problems. It's one of those songs that appears in a lot of stuff, like trailers and commercials and stuff. I would bet it's one of his more popular songs.
I agree. And then the Fugees going to break up. Now every day I wake up, somebody got something to say.
Yeah, I think him starting every verse that way is really cool, and I just think him using that Chris Rock joke from that movie and starting every verse that way is dope. Yeah, man, really good song. I feel like this album put Kanye West on the map for a reason.
Yeah. Then Richard Pryor going burn up, and I can turn a break up. Now I wake up to more BS. That's great. Come on. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can hate this song. If anyone hates this song, you've lost your mind because this is freaking great, man. It's so funny because the stuff he's complaining about seems trivial, but he follows it up with, now I got to put up with this too. It's so good. Like first this, now this. Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's my favorite song on the album, dude. We go to track 9 now. Never Change.
Yeah.
This again, dude, this has the feel of an R&B classic. The way it begins, the tone, the music. Man, I really enjoy this song, dude. What's your take on Never Change?
Yeah, really like Never Change. I loved the David Ruffin sample. I jumped ahead of myself because I immediately thought of the David Ruffin sample when I thought like there are 4 Kanye West songs on this album, and like as soon as I thought of Hard to See, I'm like Kanye West produced that. But Never Change is great. I think it's one of those perfect soul samples that he used here. And Kanye West has done this a few times with Jay, where he's taken a really good soul sample and turned it into like a really good rap song. It's one of my favorite songs on the album.
Yeah, it's good. You're right, and Ruffin's an all-time legend, dude. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
he totally is. Totally is. And the rap is good. From the womb to the tomb, from now to my doom. Drink army from one cup, pass it around the room. Yeah. And smooth. Again, dude, I go back to this idea that he's smooth in his delivery. I just,
Yeah, but see, this album is a tour de force in a lot of ways. I feel like he goes from making very mainstream, a very mainstream rap record in Izzo and rapping really well on it, and not just going, hey, here's this very poppy mainstream rap record that I could have done anything on, but I chose to really, really rap on there. Like that's what I do, and then going hard at you on You Don't Know, then coming back on on the last two songs and doing this over Soulful Records and then getting very introspective on the next song. He kind of like went across the board, like, look, this is my versatility. Again, I'm the guy. I am the king of New York.
I mean, I don't know if it was a conscious effort on his part or on the part of his people, like his PR guys or whoever those people are. But dude, when I think Jay-Z, I think Empire State of Mind, I think New York. I think if that was the goal, at least for this guy behind this mic, they did a bang up job because I automatically think New York when I think of Jay-Z.
Yeah, for sure. I just think this album, I mean, I was a fan before this album, but I do think this album really showed a lot of his versatility.
Yeah.
Because I think that just the way he switched up flows on a lot of these songs. A lot of these songs don't sound the same. It's not like he just comes with the same cadence and everything on every song. Almost every song sounds different.
Yeah, and supposedly this song is about 3 different relationships he had in the past. I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead. I'm already skipping ahead to the next song. In that vein, let's skip to the next song. Because this one follows right along with what we were just talking about. It really does. I mean, Song Cry comes right after Never Change, and it kind of follows. Dude, this sounds more and more like an R&B record to me, like a throwback R&B record because of this tune. Song Cry, again, follows sort of the same formula. It's a great soulful riff, a great great singing voice there, but also with Jay paired with it. And man, I really dig this song, dude. And again, he's going with a pattern here. I mean, it's what's your take on Song Cry?
I feel like there was a criticism of Jay for a long time that he rapped about the same subject matter.
Yeah.
He would hit you with the drug rap. He hit you with the braggy, icy rap. I have more money than you rap. But he didn't really get that introspective for a single, at least. He's done it on B-sides. But to come out with a single like Song Cry and it be well received like it was, and he got very introspective on it, I feel like that's why this is like a big, like kind of a watershed moment in his career. And I feel like that's why it is so fitting for this album because, again, this is a statement album that I feel like he kind of was like, oh, people don't think I can go deep. I'll do that on this song. And I feel like he did it very, very well. There's so many moments on this song that I feel like are great. And I feel like it's kind of, if it's not kind of like the prologue for what he did in 444 later.
Mm-hmm. And Just Blaze produced this one. Kanye did Heart of the City and Never Change, as we said. Timbaland was on Olave Vito. It's funny that they paired Never Change with Song Cry. You would almost think these two would be so there'd be something in the middle. So, but he kept the same flow, 2 tracks in a row. Actually, 3 if you think about it.
Yeah. Funny, a funny note here is that Kanye West recently threw kind of a shot at Just Blaze, and he kind of said that Just Blaze copied his sound. And I feel like if you hear this song and you don't know that Just Blaze produced it, you could assume that this is a Kanye record because he was doing the same kind of soulful sound for most of the album. But my pushback to that would be the great thing about Just, in my opinion, is that Just kind of knows what to bring to every project. He knows what to bring to every artist. And I feel like if he saw that the sound of the album was soulful samples like Kanye was doing, he just came in and brought his version of that. I don't feel like he was trying to copy Kanye. I think he was just putting his best foot forward for what that sound of the album was.
Yeah, and Song Cry is a reflection of again, it's the end of a relationship. This is a yet again about a girl.
Yeah,
yeah. I
Most
can't
most
see it
artists'
coming.
best songs are about a girl.
I agree. It's like the line from the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, right? This what does he says is like most good stories. This story is about a girl. It's the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't see it coming down my eyes, so I got to make the song cry. Um, yeah, that's good stuff. Um, and remember, I said there was just three in a row. Well, I was wrong because All I Need is next. And dude, again, we are continuing the trend of this is a throwback 70s R&B record. If this were a vinyl record, side 2 would be the R&B soul Motown side of this album.
Yeah.
All I Need, produced by Blink. Michael D. Monroe has songwriting credit on here. Yeah, so I dig this song. These are three in a row that I never skip. Never. Actually, four now. Four in a row. Heart of the City, Never Change, Song Crying, All I Need. I never skip through these four ever, man. It's another good continuation. Again, dude, I ask you, I guess now you've got four. It'd be hard to bounce them up at this point, but it's interesting that we had all four in a row. Do you think, I'm sure the answer is yes, this has to be intentional, right? That we're going for a trend here with the sound of these four tunes.
Yeah, I think this album has a very definitive sound. Like I feel like the kind of the soul samples kind of dominated the album. There are moments where he has like the hard and gritty bangers like You Don't Know and Take Over.
Mm-hmm.
But those are really like the only two songs on the album that sound like that.
Right.
But yeah, All I Need is very similar to both of the Kanye songs and the Just Play song that came before it. And I feel like Bink came along on this album and fit the sound of the album very perfectly because Bink produced Ruler's Back as well, and I feel like the Ruler's Back has the same kind of sound as these four songs.
Good man, good call. Yeah, excellent call. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so all I need is one of my favorite songs on the album. I really love how he starts it. There are several lines in it I really like. Yeah, I think All I Need is kind of one of those. It's one of my top Jay-Z B-side records.
Yeah, I agree with that, dude. It's really good. Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the lyrics, but yeah, wow. It's good stuff, man. Again, like we said, it's about a girl. All I need in this world of sin is me and my girlfriend. Yeah.
And then he goes into a sequence of bars that are about a gun.
Yes. When I'm off in the club, she fit right in my shoe. Got to switch it on my waist just in case. Jeez.
Yeah, he goes into a sequence of verses that are about a small 22.
Yep. Peggy Sue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love this record. Yeah, I feel like it's I feel like it's one of his best moments on the album. There aren't very many misses on this album. The only definite skip for me most times is Hola Jovito.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, it's for me, it's girls, girls, girls.
Of course, the claim to fame to this song is also that he references on Otis in the line, "I invented swag, popping bottles, throwing supermodels in the cab. Proof. I guess I got my swagger back. Truth." Which is how he started the song. I guess I got my swagger back.
Tied it up with a bow. I dig that actually. I was gonna say it to talk about going from flipping one track to the next. Number 12, Renegade, is one that I am back and forth on. This is Hola Vito for me because I think you know this. I'm not the biggest Eminem fan, and dude, look, he's got fans regardless of color, regardless of background. He does have fans all over the world, so I'll give him that. But I'm just not one of them. I don't hate the guy, but I'll be honest with you. He just for me, his voice is not. I just can't get around the voice. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Can he rap? Yes. Can he flow?
Yeah.
Yes. but the sound of his voice, I just can't get past it for whatever reason. I don't know why, but what's your take before I burn this thing down? What's your take on Renegade?
Um, the thing that I find myself not liking about some Eminem records is he does the production on a lot of them, and he kind of does the same moody sound. A lot of his production sounds the same. That's kind of my beef with a lot of Eminem records, at least the ones that he produces. I feel like his better records are produced by somebody else. This song is definitely produced by Eminem. It sounds like it. It's just like it's like Moment of Clarity, right? I believe that Eminem produced that as well for Black Album, and it sounds like an Eminem record. It it has the same kind of moody, dark
it does.
sound to it, and I feel like that is what I feel like doesn't mesh here, because that sound doesn't really mesh the rest of this album. But the song in itself is very good. The song in itself is, again, it's a statement. It's Jay-Z saying like, "Hey, Eminem is considered one of the best right now. I'm gonna rap next to that dude and show you like, nah, I can hold my own next to this dude." Now, you have some people that say that Eminem washed him on this record, which I think is not true at all. It's actually one of the things that Nas says in Ether, that he got out rapped on his own song, which I think is a lie. But I also think that Nas said several things on Ether that just were flat out not true. But that was one of the things I just didn't agree with. As far as like bar for bar, I feel like this is kind of a clinic, and I feel like it kind of a lot. It's two schools of thought I've seen a lot with this song. Either you like the song for what it is, or you heard the unreleased version of it that didn't have Jay on it that you like better, and because of that, you can't get into this version. Because the unreleased version, I believe, has Jay and Royce the 5'9" on it. And some people like that version better, so they just don't like this version. Yeah, growing up, when I heard this version, I heard this version first, so I didn't have that frame of reference, so it didn't bother me. I don't know. I think it's a good track. I think in terms of it being like this moment where he is rapping with somebody else that's considered the best, I think it's a big moment on the album.
I mean, it feels big, but you're right. Everything Eminem does is dark and bleak, and it's raining, and my hood's up.
It's very emo rap.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Yeah. Good call. Yeah. Yeah. And I totally get that too. Yeah. For me, I just can't get past his vocals, and I've give props before to people I don't really care for, because of what they bring to the table. And again, I'll give him his props, but I can't get past that delivery. There's something about it. I don't know.
I really like both. He has two verses on the song.
I mean, not to go off on a rant here, dude, but when I think of all-time great MCs, I think of Chuck D. I mean, I think of Method Man. I do think of Jay. I think of those voices, DMX, but guys that you'll never forget. I just can't. For me, I can't put Eminem in that category. To me, I just can't.
I mean, look, I would never, on a very technical level, Eminem is one of the best, I think. On a technical level, what he can do, breath control, rhyme schemes, lyricism, he's one of the best. I've never been a big fan of his music, and that's just a personal taste thing.
Yeah.
But I have always respected just how good he is, and I feel like on this record he is very good. I feel both his verses are exceptionally good. But again, I'm just not the biggest fan of his music. And I think again it's because of, like I said, the songs that he produces, they just all kind of sound the same to me. Now, him over Dre beats, love it. Him over somebody else's beats, great. When he's doing like this dark, dreary thing that all kind of sounds like Stan or everything else that he did for a certain time period, I could take or leave that.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna be honest with you, that's often a skip. If I'm being straight, that is often a skip.
Yeah, I really like Renegade. If it's just rap, if you're just listening for two guys rapping really well, this is a good song.
Yeah.
But I can see people being like, "Oh, this is a very this is like a downer compared to the rest of the album because it's so, just the tone of it is just so different.
You're right, 100%. Well, I will say that it is a much different tone than the rest of the album, no doubt about it. Because this whole thing feels like an R&B record to me, dude. Honestly. Speaking of R&B record and that kind of vibe, we're wrapping up the official track list with track number 13, Blueprint, Mama Loves Me. And the great, legendary, iconic Al Green has a songwriting credit here. I mean, dude, it's I don't know. It feels like the right way to end this album. He started the album off right. He's ending it right. I mean, there's 2 hidden tracks, right? But what's your take on Blueprint? I love this song.
I really like Blueprint. I just think that the overarching sound of this album is kind of these soul samples where he is kind of doing like this fusion of rap and soul, and this is like a perfect fit for that. Again, this is Bink on production, and I feel like Bink, Just Blaze, and Kanye West all understood the assignment. They all they all knew to come with the same sound for the album, and it just worked. I feel like it made the album feel more cohesive. And so I think when you get to stuff like Renegade, it kind of stands out like this doesn't really fit because the rest of the album has a certain sound to it. And so I feel like Blueprint was a great way to resolve the album. It kind of, just the symmetry of starting the album with a Bink production and ending the album with a Bink production. It just makes sense. And I feel like the story Jay tells makes perfect sense. It's kind of like the story he tells at the end of Black Album to end his career. If you want to look at it that way, where the Blueprint was kind of his manifesto of how did I get to this point and why I consider everything that got me to this point. I needed all those things to make me me. Just the story, just all the small stories he tells in this, I just think it's perfect for what this album represents for him at that point in his career.
Yeah, it seemed like the right time for this album. It seemed like the right time for him, honestly. I mean, it fits perfectly in the grand scheme of things. In his discography, it's at the right time. Yeah, I really dig this song, man. And honestly, I think they call these the hidden songs, but Breathe Easy, I think, fits in great. I don't know if I would say, for me, Breathe Easy feels less like a late 60s soul than it does a 70s sort of, dark alley detective, that kind of thing. It's got that sort of that vibe to it. But I dig this also. And of course, the last hidden track is part 2 of Girls, 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 which we're not spending time on because I'm not big on that song.
So, man, Blueprint is just such a great song.
Yeah.
And there are just so many bars in it that I really enjoy. Just the beat breakdown that's in the middle of it is dope. Where the beat breakdown where he does the kitchen table, that's where I hone my skills. Jazz made me believe this thing was real. All of the shout outs he does to this and all of the people that helped him get to this point are just great. That's why, again, it just kind of reminds me of the last song on Black Album. It's very similar. But Breathe Easy is great because it has like this feel of him. Like it's like his Rocky moment in the album. It's him doing this long exercise montage and him running up the street, doing like the air punches, like, and him doing the hook that sounds like he's doing the count in between exercises is a really cool visual. Like I love Breathe Easy. It's a hidden track. That's one of those if you're from the era that had a CD player and or had like a Discman and you had to wait that few minutes after Blueprint ended for Breathe Easy to start because it was a hidden track. You couldn't just skip to it.
Good call. I loved hidden tracks and you knew one was coming when you didn't see the disc flip back to number 1 when it kept playing, and you're like, "Oh, I think there's an Easter egg here, baby." Then you'd find it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love all of the trash talk he does at the beginning of Breathe Easy when he's like, "Y'all can't be serious right now." And he lists all these things that he's great at. He's like, I'm the best. But again, I feel like this is his statement album of him saying, like, look, I am the best.
When he says I'm leading the league in at least statistical categories right now, my God.
Best flow, most consistent,
yeah.
And my interviews are hotter.
Yep. It's great. 6, I can't even say it. 6 statistical. My God, I can't even get it out. I jog in the graveyard, spar in the same ring that was housed by the building where Malcolm X was slain. Oh,
come
my
on,
God.
man.
That's deep.
I love the first verse. Breathe Easy is a great record, man.
Yeah, it is.
I know you're not a girls fan, but Girls Part 2 has that great sample in it. I love it. I'm sorry. I love this sample. I'm not a one girl guy, and ladies know it. When it comes to love, I don't lie.
I mean, all right, fine. I won't argue with that.
Yeah, which I believe Kanye produced that too, didn't he?
I think so. Just Blaze produced Breathe Easy, and Part 2 of Girls was produced by Kanye.
Yep. And I actually think the verses on Girls Part 2 aged better than the verses on the actual original song that made the album. I don't know. I won't sit here and say that version of Girls is better, but I do enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm with you. Breathe Easy for me it's good. I mean, I kind of wish it wasn't a hidden track. It should be among the official listing, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I love Breathe Easy. And actual piece of trivia, there are uncredited vocals on Girls, by the way, from one Michael Jackson.
Oh, wow.
And I feel like that is a tie back to Jay brought Michael Jackson out at Summer Jam.
So it was because when you see uncredited, you assume that the musician or the songwriter in question gave a blessing and said, no, it's fine. You don't have to worry about it. I mean, is that what happened?
I'm not sure. But I do know that at the time there was some thought that he was in the studio with Michael Jackson at one point. I remember at that time because, like I said, he brought him on stage at Summer Jam, and so, yeah, I don't know. I always wondered, like, why didn't they do a song together?
Yeah.
But there's kind of your answer. He did vocals on Girls Part 2, and a hidden track that nobody talks about.
I mean, and honestly, it makes you wonder. Not to get off on that, but who else could Michael have worked with, and what records did we miss out on because he left sooner than he should have?
Now I know Jay has a verse on a Michael Jackson remix. I think he has a verse on a Butterflies remix. So they've worked together on other songs, but that is weird that we didn't get like. But then again, Michael Jackson was at that point in his career where he wasn't working as consistent anymore. True. It wasn't like he was just jumping on just anybody's song. Yeah, it is a bit weird that we got Michael Jackson posthumously on a Drake album, but not on a Jay album. It's a little weird.
You're right. You're right.
But I mean, Michael Jackson's touches are on this album. He's sampled on Izzo, so there you go. Maybe that's part of how he got the blessing to get that sample, is he talked to Michael for it. I don't know.
Good call. And honestly, I've been bagging on Girls for like an hour. We didn't even credit Biz Markie. So that's totally my fault. Yeah, and Slick Rick was credited for vocals on Girls also.
So yeah, I couldn't make out everybody's voice that is doing the chorus, but I could definitely hear Q-Tip because Q-Tip has a very distinct voice.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There were so many hands in this album. There are probably other like backstories that we don't know about.
Well, kids, there's the blueprint for you. Safe to say this is Jay's most soulful album of all time. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I feel like this album, again, I feel like it just changed the trajectory of his career because he even his albums that are considered the best, like Reasonable Doubt, for example. I'm a big fan of Reasonable Doubt. I argue all the time it's one of his best albums. But even Reasonable Doubt, his first album, kind of feels like a collection of good songs. Like it doesn't feel like there's an overarching theme. It's just a really good album with really good songs on it. I feel like this was the first time where he really showed us he could make a real cohesive album with a very cohesive sound to it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. Yeah, like a themed kind of album. Yeah, and that's, you know, that's not a. I mean, it's done quite a bit, but I don't know if it's done today as much as it has in the past, where it's like the whole album is sort of like you start at one point, you end at, you circle back to sort of the same point, and every song's kind of related.
Yeah,
You don't have to necessarily do that, but I like when it happens. If it flows, and I think this album flows tremendously well.
yeah, for sure. And I don't think that is a knock on any other album he's made because he's had other great albums.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of Reasonable Doubt. I liked Volume 3. Yeah, I enjoy Volume 1, even though there are misses on that album that I don't very much enjoy, like Sunshine. But no, I feel like this album is different because I feel like this is when you go outside of the rap um, genre and you go into other genres like R&B and how other people were constructing albums. There's a reason why there were executive producers on an album, or sometimes somebody would have one producer on an album. Like a good example of that is like Control, right? The Janet Jackson album. Like that has a very cohesive sound to it. It has a distinct sound to it, and it keeps that sound for the entire album. And I feel like this album does the same thing. And I feel like the reason why it is so highly regarded is because of that.
Oh, I agree, 100%. And this is one of my favorite J albums. I can't say that it's the favorite of mine, but it's definitely a favorite.
Yeah, it just something about it. It just the soulfulness of it. It just like you could picture this being a vinyl and it having
Oh yeah,
like the warm needle pops on it. And even when you look at the cover of him like sitting on that pool table smoking a cigar, it just has this vibe to it.
yeah, very much so. I 100% agree. I mean, it's just got a different tone than the rest of his records does. I think it stands out. And honestly, that's a hallmark of a great artist, is somebody that can change it up, doesn't do the same exact thing 4 albums in a row. That's credit to him and also to the people he works with who, I would dare say, Phil, that like he has got a different producer on every song, like all the time. I mean, maybe a lot of that is an effort to, hey, I want to stay as hip as I can, as fresh as I can, and I only do that by working with several different people on one album.
Yeah, I just think that this album is so important to his career, man. I know I've said
Yeah.
that already, but I just can't overstate how important this album is to his career. I mentioned the album cover. It's definitely one of my favorite J album covers, by the way. It just, yeah, it's just so many things about this album that work. There's so many things about this album that he went back to later in his career because it worked so well. Like off the top of my head, the intro to Kingdom Come Prelude. I don't think you get that without this album because that sounds so much like what worked on this album.
That's good callback. That makes a lot of sense, man. Well, kids, as we said when we kicked this thing off, there's 2 other blueprints. All you guys should know that by now. We're going to hit parts 2 and 3, so stay tuned for that at some point.
Blueprint 2, baby, is on the way.
Oh, yeah. We'll get into that, but honestly, spoiler alert, I prefer 3 over 2. So,
yeah, Blueprint 2 is going to be an interesting conversation. That is a very divisive album.
I agree totally. So I'm actually anxious to get to that. Before we get there, though, Phil, let's take this thing home. What is your last word on the Blueprint?
Yeah, I feel like it's one of his best albums. I feel like it's highly regarded for a reason. I feel like it belongs on any top hip hop album list. I feel like it's one of his greatest works, not just for what it did for his career, what it did for Kanye's career. what it did for their relationship and just where both of their careers went afterwards. It is just one of those important moments in hip hop, man, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. It's a classic, kids. If you've not listened to it in a while, for God's sake, go download this sucker. Listen to it on your favorite streaming service, whatever that looks like. Go check it out. If you've never listened to it, I don't know how you ended up here. I mean, we cover all this stuff all the time. We should have turned you on to it before now. If we didn't, that's on me as your host. So we won't make it Phil's fault, but go listen to it for God's sake.
Yeah, definitely a classic album. I know that it's thrown around a lot for albums now. It's a classic album, but this is definitely a classic album.
No doubt about it. It's a must listen if you're a Jay-Z fan. If you're a fan of rap in general, go check this out. As we said, folks, more to come. Part 2 and 3 on the way, and you can be pretty sure, regardless of part 2 and 3, we're not done talking about Jay, not by a long shot. But until then, that is the blueprint.
Hey, thanks for listening to the show. Check out our social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 6M Podcast. We'll see you next time.